What is going on, guys? In this video, I want to talk about a cool article I read yesterday talking about high intensity interval training or HIIT training kind of falling out of fashion and more low intensity body sculpting activities such as resistance training that you would find on a total gym making its way in or gaining popularity. I think there's a lot of really good things and information and conversations that can be had based on this article we'll be talking about that can really simplify or at least streamline people's fitness and health journeys here. And I'm sure we'll even open up some debates here in the comment section, so feel free to kind of let those things fly in this video. Now we're gonna go over this Wall Street Journal article that was released yesterday, at least at the time of this recording, Monday, January 30th, caught my attention, talking about is HIIT training out and body sculpting in. And I will link this article down below. I actually did kind of put my email in so I could actually see the whole article from the Wall Street Journal, so you guys can do that. Otherwise, I think honestly we'll cover the main points in this video, but I will link it down below in the description box if you guys do want to check it out. And this whole thing kind of gets my attention because I've stressed this numerous times in this channel that you don't really have to kill yourself in the gym. Based on what I hear from a lot of people's goals, honestly, doing so might even be counterproductive. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that pushing yourself or working to high intensity on occasion is a bad thing. And certainly if you like those types of workouts, definitely go ahead and keep doing that. My point is, I think a lot of people start spinning their wheels thinking they have to work themselves to death and also kind of losing the forest of their trees on the overall goals and results they're trying to achieve in the first place. You know, it's not too obvious, guys. I think there's so much that can be gathered that we're gonna dissect here that directly relates to sliding bench training or just working out with a total gym. Before we get into that, guys, though, as always, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing if you guys do like this video at all or any of this content. So jumping into this article, guys, it says high intensity interval training workouts are falling out of favor. Fewer people are resuming high intensity exercise as they go back to person fitness classes, and they're resorting basically back to more gentler forms of exercise, yoga, even walking. And then importantly, it's stressing giving priority to strength training and mobility over quick calorie burning weight loss. And it says in this article, you see fewer people kind of going all out, like level 10, asking, where's the bucket afterwards. For sure, it's no shock to anyone in the fitness industry that high intensity interval training really does sell. I mean, you see these kind of little shops kind of open up here and there. For sure, CrossFit was the big example of that. Again, we're not knocking any of these organizations or companies at all whatsoever. A lot of people see great results from it, and I definitely promote that if you guys like it. But stuff like CrossFit, stuff like Orange Theory, back in the day, the at-home fitness, which is kind of the market we're talking to right now, P90X was big. I'm sure a lot of you guys who are watching this video probably have tried at least one of those things. I've certainly dabbled it a little bit, but the point is, we know in the general population, this stuff really sells pretty quickly. The only problem is it kind of peters out pretty quickly for most people as well, because most people in their brain, they're thinking that if I want to get these results fast and quick, which who doesn't want results fast and quick, I need to put forth a lot of effort and just kind of go full bore in my exercise and also my dieting with kind of like crash dieting and crash exercise. And that's, pretty good and it's pretty attractive and it does kind of work for a certain extent. But my personal experience, and you guys are probably said the same thing. In fact, I know it's the same thing because I've talked to a lot of you guys, that you jump into these things, you either get injured, you can't adhere to it or sustain it because it's just so hard and it's hard to do it so consistently. But most importantly, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, you're not really getting the results you were seeking in the first place. The article kind of continues and just talks about, it says here, overall exercise bookings at ClassPass, a subscription-based fitness platform, rose 91% between 2021 and 2022 as in-person classes resumed, and then bookings for sculpt classes, including Pilates, yoga, strength training, increased 280%. HIIT class bookings rose more slowly at 59%. And jumping down here, this is the important quote, guys. This is what I'm kind of stressing here. What people want, we can accomplish the same or better results with less trauma to the body. That's huge, guys. This is what you guys have been saying to me from the total gym. This is one of the #1 reasons, if not the reason, you guys start gravitating and starting to see the belief and just the change and the possibilities in this machine. As a lot of you guys come from either high intensity exercise modes of exercise, or it could even be traditional modes of exercise in the gym, traditional strength training that kind of over the years has kind of worn down the joints a little bit harder on the joints. Jumping in here, the article continues talking about one of Marshall's clients, Emily Jackson, used to optimize her workouts to burn as many calories in as little time as possible. Sounds familiar to a lot of people. After a few months of inactivity in the first year of the pandemic, she got back into fast-paced running, hoping to lose weight. Feeling physically and psychologically defeated after 3 or 4 runs, she gave up. She says, I didn't want to hate exercise anymore. Says Mrs. Jackson, 33, who works in e-commerce for a media company in Brooklyn. She hired Miss Marshall and met her Prospect Park for moderate intensity exercises such as strength training and running slowly. She felt better, stronger, and is more consistent. She lost weight, but she hardly cared. And my overall feeling that I kind of have, my general kind of issues I might have with some of these like high intensity interval like classes or these types of modes of exercise, you know, one, especially if it's in a class structure, they can be overly competitive. I'm nothing against, you know, competition in your workouts. Some people thrive on that. Helps them kind of stick to exercise and they just love that stuff. But when it comes to doing things that are really competitive, that are at really high intensity, whether it's based on heart rate or just putting a lot of weight in the weight room, you know, you're kind of playing with fire at that point. Not to mention you're putting a lot of things that might be more skill based, like cleans and snatches, squats, deadlifts. You're talking things like CrossFit, and especially if you're talking about running or high intensity cardiovascular activities like indoor cycling. Again, you're pushing yourself with that high repetition activity. And if that's your sole form of exercise that you kind of stick to, that you tend to enjoy, or at least you're kind of believing you're gonna stick to that plan, there's no other options for you guys in that point. So you're always kind of going hard to the wall at every single workout. That's obviously might be potentially issues down the line. And then most importantly, my biggest problem that I kind of have with this mode of exercise specifically is that people are working out really hard, but aren't getting the results they even strive for in the first place. So at the end of the day, if you're talking about you only have so much finite energy, so much effort to kind of put in the weight room, you would think it makes sense mentally that if I just go in and just kind of kill myself in the weight room and just go kind of all out, I should get some, you know, some rewards out of that. Maybe it's just like a reduction in body weight or something like that, more muscle definition or being quote unquote more ripped. I hear that a lot from people. But if you think about it, like, let's just go in there and do what needs to be done. If your goal is those aesthetic muscles, stuff I've been talking about on this channel, things like, and this isn't the only thing to kind of strive for, don't get me wrong, but if you're trying to go in the gym and you're like, I want bigger arms, I want more defined chest, shoulders, legs, again, butt, whatever it is, then put your effort into doing some extra sets of those specific exercises and workouts versus just doing things like how many burpees you can do in X amount of minutes. While definitely that's gonna get you increase your physical fitness, at the same time, is it really that efficient to what you're going out to set forth and do? So again, if you think about totality of calories and just effort, it makes a lot more sense to me to kind of go in the total gym and then do some things that are really gonna strategically target those muscle groups that we just kind of defined, and I've said this many times, that are gonna be a little bit more fun and interesting to actually accomplish and also don't take nearly as much effort. You get way more bang for your buck. And then if you wanna kind of reduce your overall calories, reduce your body size, alter your diet a little bit and incorporate other kind of types of movement throughout your day. Doing some more house chores, going outside for a walk, doing things like that. And for sure, all these things are personal preference. Again, I'm not saying there's not a time and place to kind of go all out for your workouts, but these are just some kind of, again, some things to kind of think about here. And the article kind of continues, this video is getting longer than I really planned, guys. Talking about the cardiovascular benefits really are kind of on par versus if you're kind of going, you know, short, high intensity duration exercises, or if you're kind of going up to a longer duration. So it says, last spring, Sean Boundary switched from doing sporadic 15 to 20 minute high intensity workouts on his treadmill and stationary bicycle to 30 or 45 minute endurance efforts more regularly. The 38-year-old high school basketball coach in West Bend, Wisconsin made this switch to ease the stress on his joints and muscles. So I'm working out for much longer, but I don't feel so physically taxed the rest of the day, he says. And this kind of goes back to something I stress to a lot of people, and it's certainly not something that I don't break personally myself, because it's easy to kind of overdo it, especially when the blood's pumping and you're having a workout. But when you think about your workout, think, especially with resistance training and stimulating muscle tissue, think about going into the gym or working on your total gym and to stimulate, don't annihilate, train, don't drain. These are some things people have said throughout the years, meaning when you walk in there, you shouldn't be kind of dragging yourself back out of there. You should be prepared to do another workout the next session. And this is something very common I hear from some of you guys. I think I just heard it recently in a past video where someone was saying, you know, like, one of the problems of having a total gym is I'm working out and having a great workout. I'm kind of sore for that day, but I still feel like I could go back the next day and do a whole nother workout. And they're asking me a question, well, should I keep doing that? And so that's a good problem to have, is that you're putting forth a lot of effort. You feel your muscles working on this equipment, you're seeing the muscle changes, but you're also not feeling so stiff and achy, and you can still go back and do it again. Now, in that situation, I would say, you know, take the day off and just come back to it later. But that's the great thing is about this equipment, is that it naturally doesn't just tax and just drill you into the ground, just by nature of the machine. So the main point of this article is just talking about this new trend we're kind of seeing, but also kind of an underlying point of this article is showing you guys that there is another way, and it's also a more efficient way that just makes sense, a more practical sense for most people's lives. So I'm not saying to avoid these types of forms of activity, certainly incorporate them here and there. I certainly will dial things up and do some high intensity work, but my only thing and recommendation when I talk to most clients is that it's still so much ingrained in our heads, and I would say even our society and this fitness culture, that you have to kill yourself in the gym to get these results. And one of the biggest things I talk to people, I had this conversation so many times, I find people doing these high intensity programs, could be calisthenics, could be resistance training, cardiovascular, whatever, cycling, Peloton, something like that. And they're doing all these things, they're spinning their wheels and end up kind of petering out. And I tell them, like, you guys, if I'm talking to you and you're telling me you just want more aesthetics, you want to feel better, look better, just perform better and not feel drained throughout the day, does it make sense to kind of keep doing this thing that's not checking those boxes or aren't checking all those boxes? And if I tell them, what if I told you there's another way to accomplish this thing that is much easier, more fun, a little more interesting? I can't promise it, everyone's gonna have the same interest, but you don't have to put forth nearly as much effort and you're gonna get more results. To me, it's a kind of a no-brainer to which type of exercise to take advantage of. Now, that's the stuff we're covering on this channel, guys. So if you found this channel, you discovered this Total Gym, that's exactly what we're discussing here. So kind of just talking about this article I thought was interesting. Curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this. Let me know down below in the description box. Hopefully you guys found this video somewhat informative or just kind of entertaining. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.